Next, we move on to specification number 4, which asks us to construct and interpret simple food chains. So, let's learn this step by step. To construct a food chain, we always begin with a producer. A producer is usually a green plant or an alga that makes its own food by using sunlight through photosynthesis. Since producers introduce energy into the ecosystem, they always form the first trophic level. Next, we add the primary consumer, which is a herbivore. This organism feeds directly on the producer and obtains the chemical energy stored in plants. After that, we add the higher level consumers. The secondary consumer feeds on the herbivore, and if the chain continues, a tertiary consumer feeds on the secondary consumer. Depending on the ecosystem, a food chain may contain even more trophic levels. Finally, we connect the organisms using arrows. It is very important to remember that the arrows always point from the organism being eaten to the organism that eats it. In other words, the arrows show the direction in which energy is transferred. For example, here, the grass is the producer, the grasshopper is the primary consumer, the frog is the secondary consumer, and the snake is the tertiary consumer. Now, let's learn how to interpret a food chain. The first thing to remember is that the arrows always point towards the consumer, which is the organism doing the eating. They do not show the direction of movement of the organisms, instead, they show the direction of energy flow. Energy always flows from left to right in the same direction as the arrows. As organisms feed on one another, the stored chemical energy is transferred from one trophic level to the next. Each organism in the food chain occupies a different trophic level based on its feeding position. The producer is the first trophic level, the herbivore is the second, the secondary consumer is the third, and so on. For example, the arrow from grass to grasshopper tells us that the grasshopper feeds on the grass, making it a herbivore. The arrow from grasshopper to frog tells us that the frog feeds on the grasshopper, making it a carnivore. Food chains also show the dependence of organisms on one another. If one organism is removed, the flow of energy is disrupted, affecting the survival of the organisms that depend on it for food. This is why every organism plays an important role in maintaining the balance of an ecosystem.